Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to Foundational Black America's #1 edutainer, Petty Murphy, reporting to you live from the back of the classroom here again at Foundational Black America's #1 source for edutainment, Akata News Network. So today we will be checking in with our man in the field, our agent, Nap Turner, and he's gonna give us his up-to-date thoughts on everything going on in the current diaspora wars and what can or cannot be done to possibly maybe just mend the gap. And with that said, we'll be shooting over now to our field reporter Nap Turner with some breaking news. Yeah. All right, what's cracking? So y'all already know what it is. The routine pretty much remains the same, right? So I do want to start off by saying a few things before we actually drop down on the videos of what we'll be speaking on for today's topic. And that's actually going to be the definition, proper definition of a tether and how these things should be handled. Because what I want to first say, because, you know, sometimes you say things and things either get lost in translation or context is not fully understood, right? So a lot of the speaking I'm going to be doing is going to be based off of my own personal experiences and the fight that I've been through in like the last, just say 6 years, with everything that's accumulated in that time frame. All right. So again, you've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again. All immigrants and the descendants of immigrants are not tethers, but all tethers are immigrants. So today, we're going to have that conversation. And though I am a foundational Black American and my lineage is from the soil, another thing you'll have to keep in mind when you start hearing certain things is that this is not per se movement. It's just us speaking out about our lineage and now saying that, you know what, with everything that's transgressed over the few decades, it's time to draw a line in the sand. But I digress. We'll drop down, have a look at some of these videos, and then after that, we'll spin the block and talk about it.
I feel like a lot of Africans don't understand the African American experience. I never knew until I came here and started learning the history of what happened here. Like all the way from the end of slavery, Jim Crow laws, redlining, you know, the civil rights movement, the pipeline from, you know, from the school to prison pipeline.
The prison industrial complex.
Yeah, like all of this stuff. I don't think Africans have an idea of all these things that are put against African Americans to become successful. Like even the Africans that are brought here, we're brought and we're put into like nicer neighborhoods. They don't put us in Southside Chicago in like the worst neighborhoods where you literally have to get a gun to survive, you know.
My family members in the US, you know, when they go to the bank to take a loan, they will be given a loan. But when their African American friends go there, you know, to take the same loan, they will deny them, from having a loan. When it also comes to jobs, for example, you know, just to apply some jobs, my African family, you know, with African passport, they will give them some jobs, you know, and then the African Americans, they know they will not be able to have the same jobs. So God bless this brother here for explaining these things, you know, to the Africans who thinks that they are in the United States and they are better than African Americans, you know, because of their hard works, they are there. As he said, you know, from the time of slavery all the way to the Jim Crow era in the United States, not only that, but even today, the way the system is built, you know, you as an African with an African passport, you know, the system will favor you than the African Americans. Because of why? The system knows that first, you are not American, you know, and then not only that, but they can also put a pressure on you, you know, just like at your workplace, you know, to do certain things, even you don't want to. Why? Because you do not want to lose your green card, or you do not want to lose your job, you know, which might just put you at the risk of deporting you back to your home country. I have seen a lot of Africans, you know, on the internet talking about African Americans being lazy, being this, being that, you know. If you think because of your hard work you are in the US, why don't you sit your ass in Africa, you know, to work hard to get what you are having right now in the US? But no, because you can't make it in in Africa because of the way our system back home here also is not enough jobs for people, you know, not only jobs, you know, but you, for example, who is from a minority family, let's start with, you know, you will not have the chance, to be able to do something here because it's not about what you know, it's about whom you know. The same system is in the United States put in place for the African Americans, you know. So I want to see all of you black Americans, I want to see all of you black Africans, to work together, to know that we are all families, I am Africans. And then it hurts me a lot that by seeing Africans on the internet in the United States, trying to bully, trying to bully the African Americans, taking them as lazies, or taking them as they don't work. But this is what happens, if you do not learn your history, and not only that, you also think that white man is God, Trust me, so many of African people are brainwashed to believe in this, Sadly, we even have leaders right now in power who are working for the same people who are oppressing the African Americans in the United States. The same people, our own leaders in Africa, are also oppressing us. These people in the United States, these black Africans who think like this, they just think the same as some of our leaders here right now who are working with these Western powers to oppress the black peoples in general. So I said, it's time for you Africans, who thinks like this, to come on the table, to know that African Americans are our family members.
How 400 years, 500 years ago? I'm telling you, I don't give a goddamn on what this. Get the over it, because we gotta move on.
No, it's African American versus African, Caribbean versus African. Every black person of all over the world is against Africa. They know how powerful we can be if all black color, this color right here, unite and be together.
And so I think when we start moving towards having African Americans feel welcome into that space, as opposed to like, oh, well, you didn't like me back then, and you called me an African booty scratcher back then.
But it's not
so
your
now
fault.
I don't like you, or so now you're lazy, or so now I'm better than you, or I'm here and you're there. Like, it doesn't help anybody.
Like, you have no right to tell me, oh, because I was called African booty scratcher, I should quote unquote have to get over that.
Well,
right? And to me, it's kind of offensive, just because who are you to tell me how I'm supposed to feel?
Well, Africans probably think African Americans are lazy because of X, Y, and Z. So it's not all Africans, it's not all Americans.
I personally took offense to this, was that the reason that African men come and marry American women is because we are weak and easy to manipulate.
Even with American men, they look at African women as that you guys are malleable and easy to manipulate and, impress.
But now we got to go back to the root of all of this. It all comes from white people.
They're not all. Let's not say all. We're not here to generalize, because we don't want to help. We're not here to generalize.
Let me say
okay, but it's not true though.
But what I'm saying is that my immediate ancestors are American. Mine.
Are they black?
They're black, but they're not African. It's a difference. The white people have classified us all as coming from Africa because we're all black.
But if what you're saying is true, then you are more Hispanic or Asian than you are black.
And I said it's not just Africans, it's other ethnicities as well who think the same thing.
It doesn't matter how it does. It just does.
I'm asking you a question.
It just makes it's just offensive. It's
Have an African perspective.
Let me call the 10 Africans right here. I'm gonna get the real answer.
One of the
Africa are you from?
I'm from America. That's what we're saying. Just
What
like a
country in
Jamaica,
Africa
just like
are
a
you
no,
from?
hold on. Just like somebody from Jamaica, they're not going to say what country in Africa they're from. Somebody in Haiti is not going to say what country from. They're going to say they're Haitian.
Because they were closer from, what is it called, the triangular slave
But
trade.
then when you ask them that question, they're not going to have a definitive answer.
That's because they're already in their own community of Caribbeans, the Haitians, Jamaicans. They're all like in one bowl.
But Black Americans are in their own bowl as well.
The
Like that's
reason why I
that's
asked
what I'm
that,
saying.
that's
Why
why
are we being questioned?
That's why Africans feel that way, because they feel like because you don't know where you come from, which is not by fault by Africans.
We know where we come from. We come from America, just like Jamaicans
I guess it's just more,
come from Jamaica. Like, what is the difference?
I think it's just more relatable from an African to see another African and be like, oh, where you come from? Oh, I'm from Ghana. I'm from this place. And they know so much about their culture because they do this, and this. So I feel like that's why they feel like you know so much about your culture in Africa. So that's why they're like, well, Americans don't know, because honestly, you guys don't know. When Africans come to America, they're busting their behinds to get degrees, become doctors, lawyers, and stuff like that. So when Africans look at African Americans, they're like, these people have credit cards. We don't even have credit cards. These people are not even working, and we come here and we busting our asses. Now we're doing this. We're now 6 figures, and these people have all these years to become all these great jobs and careers, and they're not doing anything. I'm just saying this is what they're saying. Yeah, this is the conversation. It's like y'all have all this time to get free money, free loans, and we don't get that back at home.
Yeah, but
y'all get that when y'all come here, though.
Exactly, and guess what? We're right here, and y'all are still here.
There's a lot of grants and loans and different situations.
The people from here is not getting them loans that y'all come here and get, though.
You said what you just said?
No, I said there's a lot of.
That's the point that they're proving. The people here are not even getting it. So it's like, what are y'all doing?
No, I'm saying the black people here are not getting them same opportunities that y'all come from y'all Africa and come here and get. We don't get those.
We're considering not just Africans, everybody, all the other countries are considering y'all as being lazy, because it's like, why aren't y'all getting these? Like, why y'all not busting y'all asses to? Y'all should be better than the Chinese. If y'all Americans, y'all should be better than Y'all should be better than Chinese people who coming over here.
But we. And the thing is,
my question is, what are the opportunities that you think that we have over?
That's different, right?
The grants, the loans, the scholarships, and stuff.
That we're getting more than you guys.
I don't understand what. No, I've never heard of anything.
Are y'all seeing what's going on with the immigrants right now and how the benefits that they're?
African Americans are better than Africans in any sense of the word. We walk better, we talk better, we dress better. We're more influential. We're one of the most influential groups on the planet, the most impactful groups on the planet. Everybody around here doing hip hop and R&B, you know, but I hardly know anything about Africa. Okay, I don't know many African celebrities besides the ones that come here and make it big. But yes, we do everything better. We're just the greatest, okay? You couldn't compare, all right? I don't know, listen, what do you guys eat? What do you guys speak over there in the African countries? I want to know more. I want to learn, man, because, you know, obviously I'm from there, but I'm not from my country, which is America, so let me know.
Bruh, how'd you know I was Somali? I just be telling bitches I'm from Atlanta.
This is some of the stuff that I'm talking about. You cannot make up, okay? Citizen calls for ICE to arrest a Democratic Minnesota state representative after she admits to being an illegal alien on the floor. Here's the video.
Fathered as the one processing the paperwork, put my grandmother down as his mother. And so I am illegal in this country. My parents are illegal here in this country.
I don't know who Auntie it is, but her name is Cowley Vang, okay? She is a state representative in Minnesota. It is absolutely bold of her to think that it is okay for her to let out her family's secret. Now, she is not only exposing herself, she exposing her mom, her dad, if they are alive, and the fact that she has committed a serious crime. I'm talking about, what, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 felonies as I'm, sitting here counting right now. This is wild. So if you know Miss Cowley Vang, somebody needs to get her to lawyer the hell up real fast.
You work all fucking day, you don't got shit. Thank you for working so hard so I can be home all day. Free. I can use my EBT. Go to work for me, white boy, white girl. Yeah. Go to work for me, you fucking white animals. Fucking work for me. Yeah, you fucking work for me. And the U.S. government they work for me. All of you work for me. Now go to work. Pay them taxes. Take care of me and my people. All right? This is my land. I control this place. This is my reality. You all gonna be enchained. I'm gonna lock all you guys up if you don't pay your taxes. You better fucking pay your taxes.
I want to just play quickly what you said about reparations.
Dr. King said at the tail end of his life, He said, we're going to Washington and get our check. What is your position on reparations?
I don't believe in reparations. I don't.
Good. Next. Well, then you don't believe in the black community.
So you don't
believe in
Oh,
reparations?
wow. Why did y'all play the rest of the clip, man? I was on fire during that one. A couple things is, all right, how many people in the United States today are actually descendants of slave owners? Forget descendants of slaves. Let's hold that to the side. Descendants of slave owners. You've had massive immigration into the United States over the last 150 years. So now you're going to say that people who immigrated to the United States, who are not descendants of slave owners, were not descendants of that trade, now they're going to be responsible for paying that out going forward. My mother's Jamaican. My father's Panamanian. You have a lot of black people in this country who are not descendants of the American slave trade. So I already know off top, there's a lot of black people in America who aren't going to be able to get that kind of benefit or get reparations.
Well, most people who are for reparations, they feel like it should go to what they call foundational black Americans anyway.
And I agree with that point. But I'm just saying, I'm just laying out, these are the reasons for why I'm no. So while I'm
So
now,
you do support reparations for what Leonard just deemed as, quote, foundational black Americans?
No, I don't.
No.
But I want to explain
Okay.
that. I want to explain that. And so that's why you have a lot of people saying, okay, well, then what are we going to do? And so my view is that what you do going forward is this is why you have to have wholesale changes in economic, medical policy, et cetera, so that the ability to access various parts of our economy and grow in our economy work for everybody, including people in our country who are, quote unquote, foundationally black. Now, let me translate to what's happened in California. So there was a bill in California for reparations. The California Assembly, which is massively Democrat, they didn't move that bill. They could have moved that bill. When they were asked why they weren't moving that bill, they tucked tail and turned and ran away. They didn't even have the guts to actually answer that question. So I'm here with y'all. I'll tell you why I'm a no. But you have Democrats who will say they're for something, but when it comes time to actually do it, they're not there for you. They say they run away. They don't answer the question, and to be blunt, like the current vice president, not answering a lot of questions.
But she did say that she's for reparations.
After she said she wasn't. So which one is it?
No, she never said she wasn't.
That's never happened.
That's the false narrative.
All right, that's fine. I'm gonna let
I mean,
it go.
she was here when she said it.
But we have a history of racism in America.
So you are for some type of
Yes, I am.
reparation. Okay.
Yes, I am.
I'm not gonna challenge. Yeah. I won't challenge.
But I guess the question is, Congressman, you say that you're not for reparations. Then you go on to say that there are a lot of elected officials. We know that racism is a bipartisan problem, right? So on that, do you know who was the father of affirmative action?
No, that's a good question. Actually, I don't know the answer to that one.
The answer is a Republican by the name of Dr. Arthur Fletcher, who worked, you brought up Richard Nixon earlier. He worked with Richard Nixon.
Right.
But I've noted that you are opposed to affirmative action. Again, another policy that would democratize access to all of the things that you've talked about today, including economic access for black people. So on that.
What do you want black people to have, Byron?
I want them to have everything. I want them to have access to everything that this nation can do when it's running right.
How do
so
we
why,
do that?
why be against the legislation that provides that then?
Yeah.
Because you have a situation now where the real question is, do you need affirmative action today? Not did you need affirmative action? The answer to that is 100% yes. You absolutely needed it. The question is in 2024, in 2028, in 2032, do you need that now? I would argue the thing you need more now is you got to have equality in terms of the level of academic attainment for young black kids. What a young black kid needs more now than anything today is to be able to read and write, read at grade level, write at grade level, do math at grade level, and frankly, and beyond. That's what they need today.
You know, Byron, I don't disagree with you, but I just don't trust white supremacy that much.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I feel like you need that type of legislation. I feel like you need those guardrails in place to make sure. To protect, yes, and to make sure those type of things happen.
Yep. All right. So now that we're back, we're gonna have this conversation because I personally feel that there are certain things that need to be said. So before we start or hop down this rabbit hole, I want to first preface it with a few things. Again, I will be drawing on my own personal experiences to speak to what I feel is a bigger issue that needs to be addressed. All right. So one, a lot of the things that are going on right now, from my personal lens, these things didn't seem to be exacerbated, or they didn't seem to bubble up to the top or become today's topic du jour until the last 4 or 5 years. And I think a lot of that had to do with the migrant crisis that the last administration tried to act like was not going on. As Kamala told you, I haven't been to the border, but I haven't been to Europe either, because they didn't care, because it was part of a grand design. And a few people that I speak to often and are very dear to me said something yesterday about a psyop. And I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of this that does feel like a psyop. But the one thing about that is that in order for these type of psyops to work, there has to be, it's just like a computer programming, right? Anytime a cracker writes code to take over the system that the hacker created, they always have to find an exploit, which means there has to be a crack in the foundation in order for you to exploit. And I'm saying that to say this. Let's just say that the first few rounds of videos we all saw on social media were employees of three-letter agencies or assets, right? But that doesn't stop the snowball effect that had of all those people who were everyday either citizens, either birthright naturalized, seeking asylum, or just outright illegals who are here in America right now, who chose to hop on social media and then either write responses or create their own videos parodying and channeling those same, or becoming a conduit for the same message. So the thing about the African booty scratcher thing, you know what? I actually get that. And I remember that as a child. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't remember hearing it, even saying it, right? And I'm not trying to negate what was said or done. But what I'm trying to get people to understand is that, and I'm speaking from my lens, when those terms were used, we were children. And we were all in school, 3rd, 4th grade, running the dozens and just talking shit to each other. But what's happening now is that we're no longer children. And so now those children are in high places like Byron Donaldson, who says that he will not vote for reparations because his particular group of Black will not benefit from it because it was designed solely for the descendants of chattel slavery or foundational Black Americans, in which in the document it is stated 40 acres and a mule to each household. So that treaty was never actually fulfilled and has been reneged on, and all we're asking for is what was outlined in the document that granted us our freedom after being prisoners of war, okay? So what I want to try to convey my best is that there's a lot of them, like I say, that have been here. The Civil Rights Act and the Immigration Act that was attached to it was in 1965. So we're talking about 65, 75, 85, 95, 05, 15, 25. We are talking about seven decades. 7 decades has transpired. And like we said, we all knew that certain things were always said underneath, right? It was always just slight tension, but it's like that in all families, right? You may not always get along with your cousin, but when the wrong people come to the block, everybody unites like Voltron and we go to war because of that underlying love. So, we always knew about the Akata and, they would say they shit. We would say our thing, of course, but this is the first time that the conversation is being had on the world stage and everybody's watching. And it seems like the further and further we get down along this pipeline, the worse and the more vitriol you see, and the more diabolical the comments and the sentiment gets. And I'm trying to really see it from both sides so that I can orate what I'm trying to get across that we need to see, right? So there's a few things that people need to keep in mind, though. When we hear these things, and we heard this for decades and centuries from the white man, but we've gotten to a point now where we don't really hear it too much from the white man now because certain things, mechanisms, and time has elapsed and we've grown in different areas. And I'm not saying that there aren't still instances where it happens, but to be walking down the street and, hey, come here, boy, shut up, nigga. We don't get that like that anymore. And it almost feels like is that this new population that's coming in of illegal immigrants and so on and so have you are carrying those sentiments. And it's like they've replaced the old guard and this neo-colonialism. And now I've shown you all before that anytime anyone goes through the immigration naturalization process under color of law, they are white citizens, which means they are literally enjoying white privilege as well as immigrant or minority group status as well. So Americans are getting played as a whole. And as this happens, these are the things that as foundational Black Americans that we're watching. And from our lens, we're like, yo, well, you know, our parents and grandparents got out there up out the mud and fought so that they could change the immigration policies that said you all could come here. And then once you got here, this is what happened. So I understand the whole, well, you know what? This is what we were told and this is how we learned. Okay, that, you know what? Fair enough. But that could make sense for 1 decade or 2 decades. But this has been since 1965 and we're in 2025. And people have been coming and coming and coming and the sentiment has not changed. It's actually getting worse. So my question is, and I'm asking this because, you know, the last video I made, which you can go look at when I was talking about cracks in the foundation and Stockholm syndrome, was when I went through my fight and it was time for me to stand on my square and get it up out the mud. And I decided to go to war. No war chest, but I decided on some David and Goliath to go to war with NYU and 1199 ACIU, which is ongoing. And, you know, you can see the videos down the timeline. But when shit really hit the fan and it got thick, and that's why I made the last video I did, the quote unquote brotherhood of foundational Black Americans, the ones that should have been standing 10 toes down with me, that's not what happened. And people can say what they want to say, feel how they want to feel. But again, I documented the last 3 years of my life. So I have everything on tape that I can always run back. And I do is I go through and edit and constantly relive and rehear the shit, right? But when the rubber hit the road and it was time for the get down, when it mattered the most, the individuals that actually did stand tall and put shit on paper and etch it in stone on my behalf, a lot of them were either immigrants or the descendants, first generation, naturalized with birthright citizens that whose parents were naturalized citizens. And that's why I made the video I did. And this is why when we have those conversations, I do try to listen. And I want to convey to them that, like, it's not that we want everybody gone, but there is definitely a segment from within these different groups in the diaspora that are actively saying and doing these things. And what it's starting to feel like when we hear basically is get over it. So basically what you're saying is it's okay to violate us, say that you would rather be a dog than be an Akata or a Black American. Refer to us as slaves and say we have no culture, when you have to understand that we come from a country that has been keeping federal records for over 200 years. And of the 54 nations on Africa, most of them didn't become countries until the 50s and 60s to 70s. So all we have to do is do a simple search through public records to trace our genealogy. So what do you mean we don't know who we are? And that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's all this projection and gaslighting and shit that goes on. And it's like, you know what? We're just supposed to act like it's not happening and get over it. We heard that before about slavery and all the free labor and the Jim Crow and the redlining. And again, I understand it's a two-way street, but what a lot of people seem to be forgetting here is that we're the ones at home. We're the ones that opened up our communities because, you know, just like with the migrant crisis and all the illegals, the liberals that tell you that they want you here never want you in their community, so they put you in ours. And we always have to adjust, make do, and go with it. And like I say, for me, there's definitely individuals from these groups that I have lived, loved, laughed with, cried with, and held me down when it mattered the most. And I will never act like it didn't happen. And that's why I'm trying to listen and have this conversation now. So my question is where do we go from here? What steps do we take to, one, have a conversation, create some boundaries, and then stand on that and then build from here? Because the federal government's already spoken. And you could tell from the things that happened when they started rounding up the Cubans and the Venezuelans and then the Haitians, that everyone for some reason thought that Black Americans, again, the term American, were immigrants. No. We were here before most of the white people that you look at get here, because the majority of white Americans currently in this country are second generation Americans. I mean, I used to work with someone who used to brag about their mom came here illegally and still had no papers, nor did she speak English. And this is part of why I decided to stand up and stand on my square and go and get busy and go to work. Because when I realized that the people that were violating my rights and breaking the laws at NYU, and then the same people in the union who weren't doing nothing, were the children of the people that we helped bring over here, black or white. So when the same man that sat in the office and told me I was fired because of a narrative that created used to sit around and joke about how his mom was illegal and never learned how to speak English, I just find it diabolical that you think you can come here and my house and violate or disrespect me. So I decided to fight back and do something. But there is definitely a group of people who are getting caught up in that have, for lack of a better word or phrase, they've actually been on code since they got here, and they folded into the flock. And whatever parts of their cultures that they wanted to add to ours, food, music, whatever, it was incorporated in, and welcoming so. But again, where do we go from here? And at what point are we going to stop talking and throwing verbal jabs at each other and sit down and have a conversation and figure out how we're either going to fix this? Because at the end of the day, when women are being accosted and held against their will in braid shops, and people act like this is not happening, or when people openly make threats to American citizens, like I'm going to kill you, all because Department of Homeland Security is doing their jobs, but Black American civilians are now having threats on their life from members of the diaspora. I showed you in the last video with the Somalians telling them, all right, I'm going to kill you. These are terroristic threats against U.S. citizens. So when you start doing these things, you're putting yourself in the line of fire. And in that scope, you're lined up down that reticle, not us. Because you best to believe, and I keep saying this, look at every group and when their TPS was lifted and see what they were saying and doing online when it happened. And go back and start with the Venezuelans and the Haitians and the Nigerians, now the Somalians. Once they start really talking shit about Black Americans, that fucking foot drops. Why you haven't picked up the cycle yet, I don't know. But that honestly is not my concern. My concern and reason for making this video are for the individuals who have been here with us and have stood on codes. The people who have acted completely opposite of the AOCs or the Byron Donaldsons or the Ilhan Omars. I'm talking about the ones that live within our communities, and when you're getting dog walked and your peers act like they can't see it, they put their professional future on the line by doing what's right and standing next to you through that trial and tribulation. That is literally trial by fire. And you see, these are the people that when it's time to go to war, you do want standing next to you, because there are some people who come from your direct group and lineage who will let you fall by the wayside and will not as much spit on you when you're in fire in the middle of the desert. You understand? And I'm talking dehydrating in the desert on fire and wouldn't as much as piss on you. And they call you brother. So these are some things that we may not even may. We need to look at and have some very serious, deep conversations about and come up with some solutions, because sitting around complaining and arguing about what you don't like and not working on solutions to fix it is only adding to the problem. The more you speak and the more that energy vibrates through the realm, it makes it more and more crystallizes into reality until we're at where we're at now. And the one thing that I'll say before I leave is that when you tell us that we have no culture, when your imams sit in mosque in our country, in our neighborhoods, when the imam of the group saying this, 88% of them are on public assistance that comes from our tax dollars. But then you're saying that we don't know who our fathers are and we're all the product of one night stands. You're calling for death to people from our community because they're doing what's rightfully just. that's a problem, because if we did it in your country, I'm pretty sure you would act a certain way. And to gaslight us or to tell us that we're being xenophobic or practicing white supremacy because we're telling you that you no longer can call us akatas or liken us to animals and dogs and lie and say we have no culture when you readily borrow from our culture all the time. And we've always openly shared it and never tried to gatekeep it because we looked at it as we were all one. We may have had certain cultural differences, but at the end of the day, we always said, we black. We never heard or we never said, y'all ain't black. And so we heard it so much that when you needed to be black, we were like, well, wait a minute. Me no black. And I'm not saying this right. But what I'm saying is that before you get completely upset and look at us as though we're just trying to throw y'all away, we all both have to acknowledge from both sides what God is here. Just like you watching the clips and the African gentleman said, okay, you were slaves for 400 years. So what? Shut up and get over it. But the legislation we created after and from all that intergenerational trauma and pain, it's what made your life possible, sir. And it's why you don't have to sit in a third world country now with no running water or lights. And again, I'm not trying to tear down or beat down anybody, but you can't keep slapping the people in the face and then tell them to turn the other cheek and get over it. And then when you need those same people to put their lives, their freedom, their sovereignty on the line for you, then just tell them, oh, wait, where the hell are you? Get your black ass to work. That sounds a lot like what we heard during slavery. And for some reason, I don't think that that's resonating on that side. And I'm pretty sure that y'all feel the same way in reverse. So I say, you know what? Let's have the conversation. Let's see what we can do about it. So by all means, if any of this resonates, good, bad, or indifferent, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please leave your thoughts down below in the bottom. I will definitely try to get to everyone. And if any of this on any level makes sense to you, send it to your peoples, because this is a conversation that definitely needs to be had, and the sooner the better. And for anyone that was offended by this dialogue, that was not my intention. At least not this day, not now. But yeah, on that note, I'm gonna get up out of here. And we gotta pay attention to what's going on out here, because everything that we've been investing our time and our energy to is the exact mechanism that was created to subdue and keep us in bondage. Like I've said before, look up the Know Nothings. It was a militia group, and see who started the Know Nothings and who they became. Look up the history of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, and what her life work was. You know, I've done videos. As a matter of fact, my TikTok got banned 3 separate times for talking about these exact things. I mean, the people that we exalt and raise up, Gandhi. If Gandhi was here, he would spit in your face because you're black. But these are the people that they put in front of you to hoist up and use as the bar of what great is in humanity. And these are the same people who tell you who you should and should not trust and who your boogeyman is, when the whole time they are your boogeyman. And on that note, I'm going to call it a day. And remember, realize, realize, realize. Transparency forces accountability. Y'all keep your eyes to the stars and keep that head on a swivel. And remember, they are playing a dangerous game. It's all love, and everybody be safe out there. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. It is again your man, Petty Murphy, again here at Akata News Network, your #1 source for edutainment and foundational Black America's favorite edutainer. As you have just finished watching the expose with our brother in arms, Nap Turner, speaking about the current dilemma in the diaspora wars. This is a very, very touchy subject amongst loved ones, friends, foes, oppositions, co-workers, so on and so forth. I'll be totally honest with you. I'm pretty much at a loss for words today, and I'm not sure how we should handle this or what should be done. I will wholeheartedly say that I do hope that cooler heads can prevail and the right conversations can be had so that at some point we can all hit the ground running and continue to be prosperous. Again, reporting to you live from the back of the classroom here at Akata News Network, it is the true, the one, the only, Petty Murphy, signing out, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone have a wonderful day and be safe.